The show was not created by a medical professional. It was done by one man and his guests on the show talking about their struggles with mental illness. If you are having thoughts of suicide or in a state of distress, reaching out is the first step towards safety. Call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255 or text TALK to 741-741 to text with a trained crisis counselor from the crisis text line for free 24/7. If you know someone who may be at risk or struggling with depression or anxiety or any mental health issues, please follow everything in the description below to help those that are in need. Life can be so very rough.
Sometimes I get sad. What do you do when you get sad?
This is Something Gives with Josh Ronquist, a show from the mind of someone dealing with mental health issues, wanting to talk about life, mental health, and music with musicians, fans, and those in the business.
I want to feel good about myself, and I don't know how.
How do you not be sad?
I'm here to spread the word, to talk about our struggles, and what we can do to get better.
I'm responsible for my own happiness. I can't even be responsible for my own breakfast.
While this show cannot cure any mental health issues, sometimes the mind just needs to not feel alone.
There's a lesson here for all of us.
So let's begin the show. Hey everybody, this is Josh Ronquist here with Something Gives. And it's been a couple weeks since the last episode, of course with it being entitled, I Want to Tear This World Apart, dealing with what my brother has done to me over the past 30 years. And amazingly enough, change happens in ways that we can't even imagine. And that's exactly what happened not too long after I recorded the show. I will never forget it now. May 17th, roughly 5 p.m., I get a call from my sister, and she lets me know that my brother is in the hospital with organ failure and sepsis and other things that he's actually been in the hospital for before. So at first, I really didn't think anything of it. But then she says that he died. I can't even put into words how I felt. I'm always going to remember that day. May 17th, 2019. I did a fantastic interview that day with a band known as The Rods, who, if you like classic heavy metal and speed metal, go check them out. But getting back on topic here, I did that interview and it was a really rough one for me to do, all things considered, but it was a great interview and it was something I needed. And not long after that, I actually realized I kind of messed up here. It was about 12:30. I get a text from my sister saying that my brother was in the hospital and with sepsis, with organ failure. And it just never really fazed me that anything was going to happen to him because, well, he's miraculously come out of this so many times. You know, if someone wants me to go to the hospital to see him, I mean, if he had any reason for me to do it, I would have. But that conversation never came up. Despite everything that I've talked about in the previous episode, now I'm sure there's so many stories that I left out in that previous episode, I still would have went to see him. I'm sadly just that kind of person. I am a glutton for punishment when it comes to that, with toxicity. But I went and did that interview, and while everything was on my mind, and it was hitting me pretty hard about everything, it felt weird that my sister was actually going to go to the hospital to see him, because despite any problems that my sister had with him, she loved him, but they had not been on speaking terms for such a long time. Carol and I made up. Maybe that's why she wanted to go see him in the hospital. I don't know all of the stories, but, you know, that's just kind of how it is. But at 5 o'clock, I will always remember being in a local video game store as my girlfriend and I are getting back into retro gaming. We picked up this amazing console known as the Retron 3, which plays Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis games with the original cartridges, which is just amazing. And it's so much fun looking for those old games, and maybe I'll talk about that some other time, but I'm always just going to remember sitting there, or standing there, looking around at games, and my sister calls, and she lets me know at 5 p.m. my brother had died at the age of 33. And even with everything that's happened, it does not feel real to me in the slightest. My heart sank. It really did. It just tears me up inside that he's gone. And if you did listen to the previous episode, you're probably wondering, how could I possibly feel this way? If you didn't catch the last episode, I did talk about, again, in detail, so many of the things my brother has done to cause my mental health issues, and is the biggest cause of my mental health issues outside of anything that happens naturally to the body. If there is such a thing as nature versus nurture, he was the nurture of my suicidal depression. But I just wanted to at least be civil with him, which I never got and I'll never get. I just wanted to be able to say that proudly that he is my brother, that I do have a brother, and I've never been able to do that. If you didn't catch last part of the show, my brother, the last time I heard his voice, tried calling me 13 times to try to get me to kill myself, as he loves to do that when something's bothering him. He'd love to do it when he was bored. He'd love to do it anytime that he found out that I was doing something that he would be jealous of. He called repeatedly, and I know his patterns. I know it was him. And he did leave a very short voicemail. It was only a couple seconds long. Most of it was silence. But the last words that he said, and these were the only words he said in the voicemail, but sadly, because of all this, the last words I'll ever hear him speak were to me, saying, and I'm gonna censor this for YouTube, F you. Those are the last words I ever heard him speak, just a week, almost 2 weeks before he died. And it tears me apart that family can be like that. I never wished ill will towards him. There's many times I said things out of anger to him, to others about him. Others have wished death on him. I never would. Mainly because I've really come around on things in life. There are some people that might be far beyond reason, but I think everyone deserves a chance to be able to get better in life, no matter who they are, no matter what they do. While there's always going to be some resentment, if they actively try to become a better person, then they are worthy of the opportunity to become better. Now, obviously, with that line of thinking, there's so many different ways you can go about it. Well, what about murder? What about pedophilia? What about so many other things that can be done that seems like it's far beyond reason to ever want those kind of people in your life? And I get it. And I'm probably a hypocrite for saying that there are some people that I wouldn't want in my life ever again who have done things like that, if that situation was to have happened. But with my brother actively trying to get me to kill myself for decades now, it's over. It's actually over now. Sepsis, organ failure, diabetes, heavy smoker, heavy drinker, high blood pressure. He had so many things that was going wrong with him, and he would not take care of himself. Sometimes he had to just to get by, but he was so stubborn that once he realized that he didn't have to do something like that, he wouldn't. And the argument could be made that he was trying to kill himself this whole time, just very slowly. I know he had so many anger issues, and he took it out on me because I was the easiest target in his life, and it has messed me up really bad. But now, as I'm sitting here, 17 days after getting the news that he died, I still can't comprehend it. Not long after I got the call from my sister, she asked me to go to the hospital with her because my brother's girlfriend, fiance, I don't know what they were at the time, they were together. She was still there, and I thought we were just gonna be there to comfort her. She asked me to go with. I thought it was the right thing to do. I was like, be there for her, even though despite all the things that have happened between my brother and I don't blame her for it. So why not try to be there in her time of need? Little did I realize that my brother was actually still in the hospital bed when I got there. He had been dead for several hours. His body cold, just laying there. And that was a complete and utter shock to the system. I've never been in this situation before, and there's probably some people listening around now. It's like, well, of course the body's still going to be there. I didn't realize it. I'd never been in this situation before. I've never had to go to the hospital to see someone dead or to see someone die. Thankfully, every time I've been in the hospital, it was either visiting someone who was recovering from a surgery or some kind of illness that they were able to get past, or it was my own. So seeing his lifeless body there, in the back of my mind, as messed up as it sounds, I kept thinking, well, he's just gonna wake up. He's gonna wake up. He's gonna start some problems with me. This has just been an elaborate scheme to make me care about him and to try to hurt me. That's how paranoid I am. That's how much I suffer from Stockholm Syndrome. That's sadly where my mind went. When I got there, obviously his fiance, girlfriend, whatever the case is, and her sister was there, and they were taking care of all the details at the hospital of what to do. And then she let my sister and I give our final words to my brother. My sister had some great words to say about him, remembering times that actually were good in our lives, when we were very young, when she was finishing up college, all these things that were going on. And we did have some great things that we did. And I think that's what attracted me to want to come to Minnesota, because we did all of those things in Minnesota. Like going to basketball games, going to baseball games, going to Valley Fair, so many different things. And she was holding his cold, lifeless, dead hand and was in complete pain. And I know she was in pain like me, in a sense that they never got to reconcile. But I know she loved him. And just seeing the tears in her eyes, everything that's happened, she said some great words about him. Then she let me have my words. With my girlfriend at my side, I stood next to him, and I'm gonna paraphrase what I said, but I basically just said that he ruined my life. But I also have to thank him for the life that he gave me. Despite all of the hell that he put me through in my life, he also put me on the path that I'm at now, where I get to have a show like this, where I get to have my main show talking to all of the bands that I love, know and care about, be it brand new, be it bands that have been around 50 years, doesn't matter. Be it finding the love of my life, my girlfriend. I wouldn't have had these things had he not been the terrible person that he was to me. As messed up as it sounds, because he shaped my mind so much, and it really set me on a track of two ways. One, I can become so severely quiet where I don't want to bother anybody. And I still keep that in my life. If you know me in my personal life, I will never reach out to you. I sadly cannot do it. If you reach out to me first, I can talk for hours upon days. If I have to reach out first, I will freeze up. I will be so scared. And I will end up not doing it because that just tears me apart. And I have him to thank for that, but he also gave me the power to be able to prove him wrong. All of these things that he always said about my life, I'm a failure, I'm a piece of crap, I'm the F word for derogatory terms. So many horrible, heinous, vile things that he's said to me, so many actions that he's done to me. All of these things, I'm still here, and he's not anymore. I was able to live a life that I wanted to live, and every day now, without him around, I can prove him wrong. I can start forging towards the life that I deserve to have. And with complete and utter honesty, the last two words that I said to him, with my middle finger in the air, right in his face, I said, F you. Of course, that's a censored version for YouTube. After that, I got to talk to my sister more. I got to talk with my brother's girlfriend-fiance, and they were setting things up for his funeral. They wanted me involved, and I froze up. I started having a severe panic attack as they were setting everything up. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And after a long time of them trying to reassure me otherwise, they realized that I couldn't do it, so they took care of it. I know my sister took care of a lot. I know my brother's girlfriend-fiance took care of the rest. And 6 days later was his funeral. With that, I actually gained a little bit of confidence that day. And since that time, one, just in the looks department, if you've seen pictures of me, I usually like to wear my hair down. In fact, as I'm recording this, I have my hair down. But for my brother's funeral, I actually tied it back for the very first time in my life. Which sounds odd to say that, but I never usually have my hair back. I've also, only in recent times, the last 4 years, I've ever had long enough hair to even consider tying it back. I've always had it very, very short. Sometimes shaggy. One time I tried growing it out, but I just eventually said screw it. But this time I actually do have long hair. It goes down to my stomach, almost, and I enjoy it. But I didn't want to just have my hair down. I wanted to have it tied back. And I did that for the very first time in my life. And I saw myself in the mirror for the first time, and I really liked it. I liked the face that I have with my hair tied back. It gives me the win-win situation of having long hair and not having to hide my face. I think it's a good look on me. Still getting used to it, still getting used to like tying my hair back and making sure that it's tight and it's not too loose and it's just gonna fall off, but I'm getting it. I got out some really nice clothes and I think that it looked amazingly well considering the situation, as hard as it was, but I was able to go in with a little bit of confidence, saying, hey, my brother's not here anymore to hurt me and hurt anybody else. He's gone now. This is my last time I ever have to see him. And I went. Now, for a lot of people, this may come as a complete shock. Why would you go to your brother's funeral? Well, I did it for me, first and foremost. Once, like I said, I was in the hospital and just how messed up my mind is. I needed to know it was real. Second, I know there was family there that needed me, like my oldest sister. Despite everything that's gone wrong, my mom. Amazingly enough, my grandma didn't show up. She said she was sick, but I'm pretty sure she wasn't. I'm sure she was heartbroken because, again, like my brother, everything that he did to me, he also did it in smaller doses to everybody else in different ways. So I can imagine how hurt my grandma was, and she probably didn't want to go. Not out of spite, but just because she was hurt that they couldn't get along. So I get it. So I did go. And it was a nice tribute to him. not perfect. My brother was not even close to a religious man. Like, I'm agnostic, and my brother was worse than that. Worse that he didn't care about anything in life, so, the fact that there could even be an afterlife didn't even matter to him. But they got a pastor in who knew nothing about him. It was like asking my mom for stories, and of course she told them wrong. My sister had many stories that she wanted to share, and there was pictures all over. I didn't realize that he had so many different pictures. A lot of them I think were printed off from online, but it was a lot of good pictures. And there was a lot of pictures with me and him, especially when we were babies and toddlers. And it was great to see those things. I got a lot of good pictures out of that. One where you could see the long hair I had when I was just a couple months old. Yeah, I've always had long hair, but I always kept it short, and again, last 4 years I started to embrace it. So some of them I cropped my brother out of the pictures. One of them I had with my best friend growing up. I sent it to him because his mom, who was passed on, was in the picture, and we were both little kids, and it really meant a lot to him to see a picture like that, so I knew I had to send it to him, and he loved it and really appreciated it. Also, just a lot of good memories that came back from those pictures. Not thinking about him, but just thinking about me at the time, like whether I was in Florida, whether I was at home, the situations where those pictures took place. Like, there was a picture of myself and my two sisters and my brother, and it was fantastic to see because I remember vividly how that all came to be. Like, I was a very, very little kid, kindergarten, preschool, or below, and I just remember it so vividly of us going across the street from my house where the grocery store was. And we went all the way into the back, and we got pictures done. It's a very 90s picture, very early 90s picture. If you look at it, you know it was taking place in the 90s. And I just thought it was a great picture. I really did. It was great to see that. I was a very cute kid back then. Not entirely sure what happened since then. But I really like the young pictures of me, and it was great being able to see that. And when I did see my brother in the pictures, he always looked happy, at least back then as a little kid. I don't know what happened in his life to make him so angry. I'll probably never know, but something happened. And life was never the same once whatever happened. And again, when I was at the funeral, I saw his body one last time. And when they actually closed the casket for the service, I realized that was the very last time I was ever going to see his face. And again, there is that feeling of remorse, regret for not being able to reconcile. But again, for when it comes to mental health reasons, the biggest relief I could ever have. If I haven't said it enough, I'll say it again. My brother is the biggest source of mental health issues in my life. He caused almost all of them. Almost everything that has happened in my life that was bad, he was involved. With some notable exceptions, but I would say a good 90 to 97% were because of him. Every time he beat the crap out of me, every time he verbally abused me, emotionally abused me. And again, the last time I ever heard his voice was telling me to F off, as he tried 13 calls to try to get me to pick up and to kill myself. And that's sadly how I have to remember him now. And it's so strange to think about that too, because I know he wanted nothing more than for me to die. He loved the idea of me not being around anymore. He was not going to be happy till I died. But we got an alternate ending to that story. He got sick very fast, and he's gone now. And now I'm picking up the pieces of my life to try to get better. There's only so much I can do with that. I'm gonna try hard, especially with the fact knowing that the biggest reason why I have no self-confidence, I am suicidally depressed, why I have severe anxiety, why I have all of these problems, all of these things that I probably even undiagnosed things like PTSD and trauma and all these other things that probably I fit the description for are now in the past. Now, obviously the things that happened did happen in the past. I am aware of that. But I just meant because he kept it up till the very end. It can't happen anymore. It's just me trying to move forward from those things. And with him gone, I can finally do that now. Again, the funeral in and of itself, it was great to see so many people that were friends, family, people I've never seen before. So many of his ex-girlfriends, I could not believe it. Be it from school, be it from neighboring areas. They all came to see him gone. I don't know if they had the same problems that I did. I know some of them did, especially physically. And I think they just wanted proof that he was gone, and they got it. I was able to see a lot of my family there. A lot of people it was great to be able to catch up with. some people I never want to see again for the rest of my life, and some people I went to school with who called me the derogatory F word for having long hair, which is funny to think about because I wasn't even the only guy there with long hair. And with that, I wasn't the one with the longest hair of the men that were there. But my brother said so many horrible things about me that people that I went to school with believe to this day. And so many of them saw me and darted their eyes so quickly to make sure that they didn't see me, called me the derogatory terms, and just looked away. A couple people that my brother was friends with and I used to be friends with came up to me and just wanted to see how I was doing, but I knew it was nothing more than that. I knew it was never going to be more than that. I wasn't looking for that. That's fine. I mean, it was about him, and if there were people there that had great memories of him, that is fantastic, and I hope they hold on to those great memories, whereas I hope to lose all the bad memories now and move forward. If you're listening to this, you're probably wondering about the family side of things. A very fair thing to think about. I found out my mom is an absolute wreck right now. Obviously, she just lost a child, but she's also doing really bad physically. I noticed she's walking with a cane now, which I've never seen her do. Apparently, my brother was taking care of my mom, begrudgingly, but did it. And my mom might have to end up in assisted living now, because I don't believe she's at the point where she can take care of herself anymore. My dad was there with his, I think, still fiance. He tried talking to me, and he asked for a hug. I couldn't give it to him, and I said no. Those might be the last words I actually say to my dad. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the show, my dad is responsible for so many things as well, along with my mental health issues. Maybe it has to go with my brother as well. That's a different topic for a different day. But when it comes between my dad and I, things, especially in the last over a year, have not been good in any sense. And the Friday that I saw my brother in the hospital, dead, I learned some things that I will not be repeating. Mainly because it's not my story to tell. If the people in question want to share their story, hell, even on here, I would absolutely do it. But again, it's not my story to tell. But I also got involved in that story. And I would have to tell the story that's not mine to give context. And I can't do that. I will just say that my dad did some unforgivable things to the people in question and me. So I can't look at my dad in the face again. I can't. Maybe it'll change. At least as right now, I can't do it. My other sister, who I haven't talked about yet, I did on the very first show, possibly the second, but at least not this episode, avoided me like the absolute plague. To give a little bit of context, my family fell apart in 2009 for various reasons, and she never talked to me again. She became a full-on born-again Christian, got remarried, didn't tell anyone on our side of the family, not even my mom. She has kept us out of her life, and for some reason, showed up at the funeral, which I know a lot of people will say, well, yeah, it's her brother. Half-brother, anyways. Yeah, they're my half-sisters, not full-blood sisters. They are my half-sisters, but regardless, they are my sisters. And that's why she showed up, because it was her brother. I would like to counter that. If you cut someone out of your life like that, and you just show up to the funeral to look good to God, to get some closure, thinking that he'll be in a better place, that God wanted you to do it, you're not a good Christian. You're not. You're not forgiving. You're forgiving him after he died. That doesn't count to me. Forgiveness is when you do it when both parties are alive. Whether you choose to have a relationship after that is on the parties involved. But when you cut someone out of your life and you just show up to the funeral to look good in front of friends and family and to God, you're a terrible person. And my sister's also done some other things that Christians will find absolutely no problem with, especially the right-wing side of the Christians, that I can't forgive her for. And in 2009, I had nothing to do with the incident that happened that broke up family. And when we were setting everything up for my brother's funeral, I was involved in a text chat just to find out what was going on. My other sister was involved. And she is the kind of person to say, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry if you were offended. I'm sorry if you took it the wrong way. All these things that are not apologies. To some people, those are apologies. To me, that is a crock of crap. Apologizing involves knowing that you did something wrong and trying to make it up to the person that you hurt. Saying that you're sorry that they got hurt for what you did is not apologizing in any stretch of the imagination. And that's what she tried doing to me, and I don't let that slide. That's the other thing that's really happened over the last couple weeks, is I no longer care. I no longer need to feel like I need to hide things back anymore. If it involves me, if it involves other people, my lips are shut and sealed. If it involves me, I have no reason to keep quiet anymore. And yeah, to say that I haven't been harboring feelings towards all members of my family due to various reasons for me having absolutely nothing to do with the situations, it's hard not to be bitter. And I let it out for the various reasons. And after some exchanges that happened even this past weekend, I am a toxic person to her and she doesn't want me a part of her life. Fair enough. I've been out of her life for just about 10 years now. I don't need to be back. If God forbid anything happens to her or she has a funeral, I won't be there. Not unless other family needs me there. If they literally need me there, I'll be there. Otherwise, I have no reason to be a part of her life. And that's the way she wants it. She has her new family. Apparently she has new kids, stepkids, all these great things. Fantastic. She's not a part of my life anymore. I'm not a part of hers. So just on the off chance you are listening to this because someone sent it your way, best of luck to you. See you next funeral. Finally, my sister, who I've talked about many times on the show, saw her. She was doing rough, of course. Told many of the stories that she was telling my brother's girlfriend-fiance on a previous Friday, just to try to make people laugh and smile. She did the best she could. And she actually held up quite well under the circumstances. But something I didn't think was ever going to happen again happened. I saw my nieces for the first time in probably half a decade, if not longer. I saw them grown up now. They are, as of recording this, my oldest niece just turned 19 yesterday, and her sister is 17. And that just blows my mind that they are so old now. My youngest niece is going to be graduating high school next year. My oldest niece graduated high school. I can't believe it. It is so far beyond the realms of thought for me. Even though it's like, well, yeah, of course, that's what happens in life unless they drop out or something happens to them. I get that. But when I was so a part of their lives for the first several years, and then for 10 years I was out of it. My oldest niece is a very quiet person now. She takes after me in a lot of ways. Like, she is very quiet and she is very shy. She keeps to herself. She doesn't like to bother people. That was me for the longest possible time, and I get it. I absolutely get it. So I don't think we exchanged words, and I wasn't going to force it on her. She was already nervous, and I get that. I don't want to force myself onto anybody to talk or otherwise. If you want to be left alone, I can read the signs. I will leave you alone. My other niece that was there, total opposite, and she takes after the way that I was always truly meant to be. Very outgoing, very happy, enjoying life, loving what was going on. This was a 17-year-old that feels like it was my daughter. Like, she loves music. Not my music. She made sure to tell me that she's not into heavy metal, although her boyfriend is, which is pretty cool. But she just has a real passion for life, and she wants me involved in her life. She told me that a few times there, and it just absolutely warmed my heart, because I don't know what my sisters would have told my three nieces and my nephew, combining both my sisters. They could have said the truth, they could have lied, they could have said nothing. I don't know, I wasn't there. But despite everything that's happened in our family, that she still wants me around in her life, it just means the world to me. And hopefully we're gonna be doing that soon. Hopefully I'll be making it her way soon. She doesn't live very far away, I think maybe a half hour, and we're gonna try to see each other. You know, like her possibly with her boyfriend, her with my girlfriend, who was obviously there. They got a lot in common as well. Brought up a lot of good memories that we had together. It was just an amazing feeling. And I'm actually tearing up a little bit just thinking about it, but I love that she wants to be a part of her life, and that has given me so much meaning. And I think it's a great way to be able to close out the episode, is to say that no matter what alternate endings happen in your path of life, there can be so many great things that can happen. All the alternate routes, however you prefer to say it, pathways, forks in the roads, no matter what. If you can try to find some positive in there, you will. You will find the positive if you look for it. For me, I lost the only brother I'll ever have, but I gained a niece who wants me in her life. And mentally, I gained the fact knowing that my abuser can no longer abuse me. Anything else that he ever does to hurt me is all in my head, which means that I can solely work on myself and become the person that I deserve to be. And with that, I also have the strength to no longer harbor my feelings, be it positive, be it negative, whatever the case is. If there's an argument to be made, if there's civility to be made, I'm gonna do it. No more hiding back. No more just hiding in the corner. No more just letting things go that don't deserve to be let go. Your mental health matters. My mental health matters. Everyone's mental health matters, no matter where you are in the world. If you can get help, if you need it, even if you don't think you need it, it's always good to do a check on your mental health and make sure that you're doing okay. Make sure there's no skeletons in your closet. Make sure that you're not harboring any feelings. Making sure that you're not making your own life worse than it has to be. Work on yourself. love yourself. If you can't love yourself, you can never give the true love that you deserve to anyone else. Friends, family, relationships, whatever. You need to be involved with yourself, no matter how selfish that might sound. You need to come first, because you are not good to anybody if you can't take care of yourself and be okay, no matter how much you want to put everyone in front of you. And you can do both, but never forget to take care of yourself. And when those problems that cause any problems in your mental health are gone, the rest is on you. You need to figure out what you can do to get past the things, be it medication, be it therapy, be it just the fact of knowing that that trauma is over. So many different ways, so many paths, so many routes. And when you get that alternate ending to one timeline, it might be exactly what you need. Once again, thank you so very much for tuning into the show. This is Something Gives Josh Runquist. Hopefully, there is no other gigantic negative things that happen in my life between now and the next episode, because the next episode, I hopefully will be able to start bringing on guests. I have a couple that want to be a part of the show, and I will always continue to give little updates either before or after my talks with people on the show. But as of right now, I think my mental health story, in full context of the show, is done. I can start focusing on trying to help others tell their story and also work on myself. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to check out Something Gives on Facebook. Check out thatdrummerguy.com for all of your drummer guy needs. Until next time, this is Josh Runquist saying, see ya. This has been Something Gives with Josh Runquist. Tune in next time where we continue the discussion of mental health, music, and life in general. Make sure to check out all your favorite social media sites to follow what I do as Josh Runquist and That Drummer Guy. And until next time, just remember,
it's always worth it. Hang in there, stay positive. It's worth the fight.
this show was not created by a medical professional. It was done by one man and his guests on the show talking about their struggles with mental illness. If you are having thoughts of suicide or in a state of distress, reaching out is the first step towards safety. Call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255 or text TALK to 741-741 to text with a trained crisis counselor from the crisis text line for free 24/7. If you know someone who may be at risk or struggling with depression or anxiety or any mental health issues, please follow everything in the description below to help those that are in need.